Okay, question 11. May 2019, distance from Earth to Mars was 3.9 times 10 to the 7. In May, the signal sent from... So distance. Assuming that the signal sent from Earth to Mars travel at speed. So straight away now, I know that I'm going to be using distance, speed, time. And I remember it as Dave's speed triangle. Okay, Dave's speed triangle. And I want to know the time. How long did it take? So I'm trying to find the time. So to find the time, it's going to be the distance, which is 3.9 times 10 to the 7 divided by 3 times 10 to the 5. And again, this is calculator work, okay? So my calculator, 3.9 times 10 to the 7 over 3 times 10 to the power 5, which means it would have taken 130 seconds to get there. Okay. The speed of the signal sent from Earth to Mars in May was actually less than that, which means it was slower. Okay, if it's less than that speed, it's a slower speed. So less than this means it's gone slower. How will this affect it? Well, if I do something slower, it's going to take longer time. Okay, that's all. It's just going to take longer to get there. Question 12. We've got this question, and it's angles in parallel lines. I can see straight away I've got angles in parallel lines. I've got to find x. Well, don't forget, you can write all over this if you want. You can start off by, for example, finding angle 180 minus 26. So I can find this angle here, RWY, by getting that as 54. And then therefore I can see straight away this is going to be 54. So I know x is 54 degrees. Okay, and why is that the case? Well, you've got to tell them every step you've done. So I'm going to say that I did 180 minus 126 equals 54. Because, and you've got to give reasons, angles on a straight line equal 180. And then I know to get from here to here, I know x has to equal 54 because, now I've gone with the Z shape. And you can't say Z, it's not allowed that. So because alternate, A-L-T-E-R-N-A-T, alternate angles are equal. Okay, so you've got to make sure you say how you got there. But I use this one. There's loads of different ways of doing it. I could have gone vertically opposite and then co-interior. I could have gone angles on a straight line and then corresponding. So there's lots of different ways of doing it. You could have gone angles on a straight line, co-interior, angles on a straight line. You can make it harder for yourself, but generally it's going to be a two move. It's at the bottom, you want to get to the top. It's going to be two moves to get there. It's either going to be a vertically opposite and somehow, or a straight line and then one of them to get you there. Okay, so that's that one done. That's 12 done. 13 was the big pie chart question. So we had a pencil case. There are 4 blue and 3 red pens in the round pencil case. So in the round one, I'm going to start filling this in straight away. 4 blue, 3 red is 7. So 4 blue, so that's 4 out of 7, and 3 red, that is 3 out of 7. Okay. There are 3 blue and 5 red, so there are 8 in the square pencil case, and there are 3 blue. So 3 out of 8, 5 out of 8, and again it'll be the same at the bottom. So 3 out of 8, 5 out of 8. I want to know the probability, so that's part A done, dead easy, that's 2 marks for that. Probability that she takes both red. Well, both red is down this way, it's coming downwards. Okay, so remember when we work along the branches, it's this one and this one, and the word and means to multiply, so it'll be 3/7 multiplied by 5/8, and again we have calculators. So instead of making a daft mistake, we're going to do it on our calculators quickly. 3/7 multiplied by 5/8 gives me an answer of 15 over 56. Okay. Question 14. I'm just going to lean on the bottom of this, I think. Okay, question 14. The expression x squared minus 8x plus 21 can be written in this form. Find the value of a and b. So this form is completing the square. So if you remember, we halve the middle value, so it'll become x minus 4 all squared. So that's your first step. Then you subtract whatever this is squared, and then you add on whatever numbers at the end, so plus the 21. So my final answer will be x minus 4 squared, and then on my calculator, 4 squared plus 21. I'm going to stick a minus in front of it so I don't get it wrong. So it'll be 4, that'll be 5, so this bit here works out to be 5. So A, I can see, is 4, and B is 5. Okay, and then in class we would have spoke about this, and we said the diagram shows this graph where this is the minimum point. Well, if you remember, from your completing the square, this gives us our minimum point. It's the opposite of the negative 4, so positive 4, and that. So this point, this M, this point here is 4, 5, and it comes from your answer to part A. So the coordinate of M is 4, 5. Okay. Question 15. It's a quadratic, I can see it's a quadratic, and it says give my answer to 2 decimal places. So because of that, I'm going to use the formula. And the formula is given to you on your formula page at the front of your exam. The formula is minus b plus, so x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And anything I substitute in, I'm going to put in brackets. So what are my a, b and c? Well, from the equation, a is 2, b is 4, and c is negative 5. And anything I sub in, like I said, I'm going to put in brackets. So it's going to be minus 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4 lots of 2 lots of negative 5 all over 2 lots of 2. Now if you remember, for my values, when I type this in now, so fraction button first, I'm going to put in negative 4, and I've got to pick, and I do plus first because that's the easiest one to do. So plus the square root of 4 squared minus 4 lots of 2 lots of negative 5 all over 2 lots of 2. And that gives me an answer, and he wants it to 2 decimal places, so 0.87. So my first answer is 0.87. For my second one, I don't clear it off, I just go through my calculator until I get to that plus, and I change it for a minus. So I press the delete button, and I change it for a minus, and I press equals, and again I press the SD button, and this time I get an answer to 2 decimal places of negative 2.87. So those are my answers to 2 decimal places there. Okay? So because it said 2 decimal places, straight away I knew it was going to be the formula. Question 16. Question 16 says, find the equation of the line on the grid. Well, if you remember, the equation of a straight line is in the form y equals mx plus c. M is the gradient, c is the y-intercept. So I can get c straight away. That there is my c. So I've now got y equals mx minus 6. Now I've got to find the gradient. Well, I find a point that I like the look of, so this is a good point here. I go 1 across, and I see if I can get up and hit my graph, and I can. So if I go 1 across, I would have to go 3 squares up. So because I've gone 1 across and 3 up, it means my gradient is 3. So my gradient is 3 over 1, dy by dx, sort of thing, y over x, minus 6. So my final answer would be 3x minus 6. Okay, question 17. So it's a question where we've got the graph, and in the diagram we've got point A, point B, point C. And we want to find the equation that passes through C and is perpendicular to AB. So that means that this line is going to be going something like that. Okay, so remember, perpendicular means to be at right angles. So these are at right angles. Okay, so I want to find the equation of this line here. So the first thing I need to do is I need to find the gradient. Okay, so to find the gradient, I've got 2 points. I can find the gradient of this line. So the gradient of AB, I'm going to do it up here. So the gradient of AB is, if you remember, y2, so the gradient is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So it's going to be 4 minus, so I'm looking at these points here, by the way, just so you know where I'm coming from. So 4 minus 0 over 0 minus minus 2. Okay, negative, put it in brackets. So that's going to be 4 over 2, which means my gradient is 2. Now, if my line is perpendicular, then the gradient of C, we're just going to call it C, I guess, is the negative reciprocal. So if the gradient is 2, then the gradient of C would be negative half. Okay, so now I can start off by starting to answer the question, because I want to find the equation. So I know the equation is y equals mx plus c. I've got m is a half, so I've got y equals minus a half x plus c. And then the last thing I've got is I've got some points which it goes through, so x and y. So negative 1 is equal to a negative a half lots of 5 plus c. Multiplying it out, we get negative 1 is equal to negative 5 over 2 plus c. Sorry, I move that up so you can see it. And now I've just got to rearrange it. So negative 1 plus 5 over 2 is equal to c. I'm going to get my calculator. I'm going to do this on my calculator. So that's going to be negative 1 plus 5 over 2, which gives me 3 over 2. So c must be 3 over 2. So my equation of that line must have been minus a half x plus 3 over 2. If you want it in decimals, you could write it in decimals as minus 0.5x plus 1.5. It doesn't really make a difference, but fractions are a lot easier. I'm sure the year 12s will tell you that if you and year 13s if you asked them when they did their A levels. Okay, so the last question is quite tough. There are only green and blue pens in the box. There are 3 more blue pens and green pens, and there are more than 12 pens in the box. Okay, so when we start to look at it, I've got 3 more blue pens than green pens. Well, if I say green is worth x, then blue is x plus 3, because there's more of them. So in total, I think I have got 2x plus 3. Okay. So I could draw this out as a tree diagram, because he's going to take 2 pens. So there's 2 ways to do this. We could do it as a tree diagram, and if I did it as a tree diagram, I'd have blue and green. I'm not going to do it like that because I need space. But I'd have blue and green, blue and green, blue and green. Okay. And I get the probabilities. Now, because I want a bit of space, I've got to think about what's going to happen. So he's going to take 2 pens. Okay, so let's have a think. For green, because it's 2 of the same, so he's going to take, he picks a green to start with. Now, the probability of picking green is x over 2x plus 3. Then he's going to pick another green. Well, that means I've had one removed. So I'm going to pick and another green, which means I've taken one from here. And also, I've got to take one from the bottom, the denominator, which means that becomes 2x plus 2. Okay? Now I can work that out. The numerator, this is going to be quite an easy one to work out in some respects, but this will become x times x is x squared, and x times negative 1 is negative x. From a denominator, 2x times 2x is 4x squared, 2x times 2 is 4x, 3 times 2x is 6x, and 3 times 2 is 6. So I can simplify all of that to become x squared minus x over 4x squared plus 10x plus 6. So that's the probability of me picking 2 greens. But I could have also picked 2 blues. So the probability of picking 2 blues would be x plus 3 over 2x plus 3. And then another one, well, I've got to take one off this, haven't I? So x plus 2 over 2x plus 2. Now this one, I've already worked out the denominator. The denominator is the same one up here. So this denominator is going to be 4x squared plus 10x plus 6. And that's going to be over x squared. And we're doing this in one go, okay? So it's going to be 3x and a 2x, which makes 5x, and 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, so I've got the 2 probabilities, and I know that the probability of taking a green, x squared minus x over 4x squared plus 10x plus 6, or the probability of picking blues, which is x squared plus 5x plus 6 over 4x squared plus 10x plus 6 has to equal 27 over 55. Okay, so if we have a little look now, we can put these together. It's quite a big question, this. We've got a common denominator, so I'm going to write it all over this in a second. But I'm also going to simplify this top line. So x squared plus x squared becomes 2x squared. Minus x plus 5x becomes 4x. And then I've got the 6. All over 4x squared plus 10x plus 6 is equal to 27 over 55. Right. So, just like fractions, or like any sort of solving, I'm going to multiply up by this, and I'm going to multiply up by the 55 in one go. So that is going to give me 55 lots of the numerator, so 2x squared plus 4x plus 6, being equal to 27 lots of 4x squared plus 10x plus 6. Okay, so if I expand all of that, I would end up with 110x squared plus 220x plus 330, so I've done this times this, this times this, and this times this, being equal to 108x squared. Now I like that because I've got 110 and 108, so I'm feeling like I'm doing this correct, plus 270x plus 162. Now I've got a quadratic there, and quadratics always want to equal 0. So because I've got the most over here, I'm going to bring everything from this side, I'm going to move it over, so I'm going to subtract this, I'm going to subtract this, I'm going to subtract this. Remember, we do it to both sides. You don't just move stuff, things don't just pass from one side to the other. We have to move it. Okay. So starting off, I've got 110x squared, subtract 108x squared becomes 2x squared. 220x minus 270x is negative 50x. And 330 subtract 162 is 168. Quadratics want to equal 0, so I'm happy with that now. And then they're all even numbers, so to make it a bit easier for myself, I'm going to divide through by 2, so I get up to here. Okay. So how am I going to solve this? Well, I'm going to come up here to solve this. Okay. I've got to start thinking now of, well, I mean, there's lots of ways I could use the formula if you wanted to. I could factorise it. Because of the numbers, I might be tempted just to shove it into the formula. I think I will. I think I'll shove it straight into the formula just because I'm trying to save time and I've got to think about what everything would be. So I'm just going to go with the formula. And remember that is minus b, so minus 25, plus or minus the square root of minus 25 squared minus 4 lots of 1 lots of 84, just about squeezed it on the page there, all over 2 lots of 1. Okay, and I'm going to put that in my calculator when I can find it, and I'm going to get negative, I'm going to put everything in brackets, any negatives are going to go into brackets. So negative 25, so negative 25 plus the square root of negative 25 squared minus 4ac, so over the 84, all over 2 lots of 1. Press equals and I get 28. Got to think now. I think I've made a mistake. Let me try the other one. Minus 28 and negative 3. Okay, yeah, we'll go with that. They make 25. So x equals 28. I made a mistake somewhere in here. Plus 84. No, it must be that one. And x equals negative 3. Now the question said originally that there are more than 12 pens in the box. So the only possible answer that I could have is that x has to equal 28. And that is that question done. That was a really good grade 9 question. A a lot of work there. I think the hardest part was setting it off, you know, just getting this bit sorted, but once you've done that, you should be absolutely fine. Okay, thanks for watching, guys, and make sure you do your corrections, please.